Let me just start right off the bat by saying I'm not an expert on the role of public education in a society. I haven't read a dozen philosophical tracts on the topic. I don't even have a solid foundation of what all the great thinkers have said about it. But I do know this, that the role public education is playing right now is bad for our country. When I use a phrase like bad for our country, like I did before the intro, I mean bad for our kids, because that's the only reason to care about a country's future. Let's be honest, I'm an old guy. It's not going to affect me personally at all when everything goes to hell. But raising children, ignorant or rejecting of our shared values as a country, will affect every single American who comes after, all 330 million of them. The ones who love American and Western culture and the ones who despise it will all be equally negatively affected by the loss of those shared values. Ultimately, the purpose of public education is whatever we want it to be. And each society defines that purpose differently for itself, because all cultures require different things in order to live well within that culture, different types of knowledge that are necessary. So all cultures will have different knowledge that must be taught in its schools for a person to grow up and become a contributing member of that society. Therefore, one of the primary purposes of public education within any culture must be to teach the values and traditions that are specific to that culture, that are the foundation of that culture, so the next generation can continue them, which in turn continues and preserves the culture. We would say this about any culture. No one would ever say, the Japanese have no right to celebrate and advance the foundations of their culture in their public schools. That discriminates against and marginalizes the people who live in Japan who do not support those things. No one in their right mind would ever argue that. And this applies to every single culture in the world, except the United States for some reason. No one would ever claim that any other country is racist or supremacist because they just wish to preserve and maintain their culture. But the same people who would never say that about any other country say that about America all the time. Now, the assumption here, and you might want to sit down for this, the assumption here is that you believe you live in a culture that is good, that deserves to be preserved, that you believe you live in a culture that you think has inherent value, which you wish to continue. And if you do live in one of those cultures, that's good. It's good for all cultures to feel that about themselves and about who they are. And when they do feel that way, it's not xenophobic, it's not racist, it's not supremacist. All cultures on earth, past and present, have inculcated in its children the values and traditions that are required for those children to preserve and advance that culture. And that's okay. It's okay for them to do that. It's okay for Sweden and Ghana, India and Peru to want to preserve its traditions, values, and way of life. Nobody, not even the loudest voices who complain daily that it's wrong for the United States to do it, would ever claim that it's also wrong for other cultures. Just as it's okay for Sweden and Ghana to do it, it's okay for us to do it. It doesn't make us racist, xenophobic, or supremacist. It just makes us a normal, well-adjusted people of a nation that they happen to like. If we are a country that doesn't have a set of base values that we hold in common, that we teach to our children, then we are not a country. What exactly are we doing then?